Tonight on News 12, a Vote 2025 election debate from Optimum headquarters and News 12 studios in Bethpage. Republican Bruce Blakeman and Democrat Seth Koslow are vying for your vote in the race for Nassau County Executive. And tonight they're answering your questions about taxes, home prices, immigration enforcement, and more. Local elections lead to national change. This 1-hour News 12 election debate with moderator Rich Barabi starts right now.
And this is the News 12 Vote 2025 election debate for Nassau County Executive. We are coming to you tonight from Optimum headquarters and News 12 studios in Bethpage. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rich Barabi. Tonight, these two candidates will be making their pitch to you, the voter, as they face off in the race for Nassau County Executive. More than 1.4 million Long Islanders call Nassau home, and it's made up of 3 towns: Oyster Bay, North Hempstead, and Hempstead, which is the largest township in the United States. Republican Bruce Blakeman is the incumbent. He was first elected in 2021. He's previously served as a Hempstead Town Councilman and presiding officer of the Nassau County Legislature. He was also a commissioner for the Port Authority. His opponent in this election is Democratic legislator Seth Koslow. The Merrick resident represents the 5th Legislative District. He was elected last year. Before that, Koslow served as a Queens County Assistant District Attorney, and he founded his legal practice in 2016. Thank you both for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The candidates have agreed to the News 12 debate guidelines and format. They'll each have 1 minute each to deliver their opening statements, and the order was decided by a coin toss. Seth Koslow won the coin toss. He chose to go second, so Bruce Blakeman will go first. Bruce.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you, News 12. It's been an honor to serve as your county executive. 4 years ago, I made you a promise that I would make Nassau County more affordable and safer, and I've kept my promise. I haven't raised taxes 1 penny in 4 years. In fact, I cut my predecessor's $150 million tax increase. In the meantime, I have hired over 600 law enforcement officers to make us safer. I've invested in a new police training village. I've invested in equipment, technology, and training for our police department and our sheriff's department to make us safer. And we did this without raising taxes, and we've gotten 7 bond upgrades in the meantime. It would be my honor to continue serving as your county executive, and I ask you for your vote.
Thank you. Legislator Koslow.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, News 12, for having us, and thanks to the viewers at home for watching. I'm Seth Koslow, and I'm running for county executive because I believe we need change. I grew up here in Nassau County. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a coach, I'm a small business owner, I'm a former prosecutor, and I'm a legislator. And I got into politics to try and do something for my community. I was tired of sitting around wondering why it's so expensive to live here. Where's all of our money going? And as a legislator, I got to see firsthand that Nassau County is run like a circus. And this is the clown in charge. He's wasting our tax dollars, millions of dollars on no-bid contracts, millions of dollars in legal fees to defend his terrible actions as county executive. And all the while, crime's going up, taxes are going up. And at the same time, he took a $40,000 pay raise. That's not efficient leadership, that's a problem. I have a plan how to make Nassau County more affordable, how to make sure our kids can live here, and how we have a future for Nassau County. I want to make sure we're safe, and I'm going to tell you all about it in the next 45 minutes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Legislator Koslow. Let's get right to the questions now. And we'll start with you, Legislator, because many Nassau County residents are learning about you for the first time this year. And some of the first images they have seen are ads from your opponent's campaign featuring the Sisters of Sarah Good. She was a Medford mother who was raped and murdered in 2014. They are highly critical of an article you wrote as a student at Toro Law School in 2013. Take a listen.
My sister Sarah was raped and brutally murdered.
Her body later found in the woods near her home.
For Nassau County Executive candidate Seth Koslow to suggest that women fantasize about rape is sick and disgusting.
All right, so I want to ask you now, Legislator Koslow, to explain the article that you wrote, and what is your message to any potential victims of rape or sexual assault?
First off, I just want to send out, of course, my deepest condolences to the Good family. It's a terrible tragedy. It should not happen to anybody. And that's part of the reason I became a prosecutor in the beginning of my career, is to make sure our streets are safe. And quite frankly, shame on you, Bruce, because this is disgraceful. This is a law review research paper I wrote in law school. The best they could find to come at me, because I guess they couldn't find a pop quiz I failed in high school, is a research article I wrote. It was an assignment I had to do. It wasn't my views, it wasn't my opinion, it was a research article. How bad does his record have to be to base his entire campaign going at me for a research paper? I worked as a prosecutor. I fought for women's safety and women's rights. Under Bruce Blakeman, we lost the Safe Center that actually defends and helps victims. He refuses to talk about his record because it's so bad. The reality is, I've put violent criminals away. I made sure women were safe, and I continue to do so as a legislator, and I will continue to do so as county executive. It's not about party. I had nothing to do with that case with the Good family. I was a prosecutor when that happened. It's an awful tragedy. But to victimize people again using this for political gain is disgraceful, and he should be ashamed of himself.
Well, County Executive Blakeman, you've called Legislator Koslow morally unfit to lead. Do you stand by that?
He's disturbing. Actually, what he left out of his resume is the fact that he's a criminal defense lawyer and that he makes his living getting people out of jail. He wants to expunge their records. He wrote this article with the premise that the protections that women have with the rape laws are too stringent and too strict. And he wrote that women make up stories about being raped because they desire and fantasize to be raped. That is disgraceful. And I'm sure that you don't want to talk about your record of supporting cashless bail. I'm sure you don't want to talk about defending people who were accused of selling drugs in our community, or the woman who was attacked who was pregnant, that you represented the person that was being charged. He's a criminal defense lawyer. He's not telling the truth, and that's his record. That was the whole premise of his article. And those sisters agreed to come on and state how they felt about his candidacy because they were concerned that someone like him could potentially lead a county that's larger than 10 states in population.
Legislator Koslow, I want to give you the opportunity to respond here. Specifically, do you stand by the quote that was in your research paper at that time, and what is the origin of that quote?
Rich, what Mr. Blakeman forgot to say is that there is a process in our country where you have a right to a defense. That's how our system works. And the fact that he's attacking me for having a career and defending the rights of people who have a right to be defended is disgraceful. We don't have kings in this country for that reason. We have to have a system that works to ensure our government does the right job. And that's what my job was as a prosecutor, as a criminal defense attorney, to make sure prosecutors did their job so that people didn't get out on a technicality. And if I did my job well, that meant the government did their job well. It's about accountability. And to the extent he wants to talk about this article,
let me move on.
To the extent he wants to talk about this article, the article has nothing to do with rape. It's about false allegations of rape.
Well,
either he didn't read it, or he's lying about it.
I actually read it.
Quickly,
and I tell you what, Seth, why don't you do this? If you think that I'm exaggerating or not saying something that's true, let's ask News 12 to put on their website tonight that article, let people look it up themselves online and decide for themselves where you stand with respect to accusing women of making up stories about being raped because they desire and fantasize to be raped. Shame on you.
All right. Well, Legislator Koslow, I want you to address this one more time because clearly there's a significant back and forth here. The article is posted online, albeit not on our website. But again, specifically to that article in question.
So that article, as one does for an assignment in school, requires research. I don't get to write a paper with just my thoughts. I have to do research and take other people's arguments and formulate my arguments. If you read the paper, which apparently he says he did, but he didn't, you will see that the point they're citing to is cited to another paper. It's citing words from somebody else.
Supported.
Okay. All right, we need to move on.
You supported that. That was the premise of the article.
Writing a research paper.
That protections for women were too strict.
We are well over time on this issue, but we'll probably get back to it at some point, I would assume. All right. This is a News 12 election debate. We have many more questions, many more topics to get to here. We're talking about immigration, working with ICE, home prices, red light camera tickets, counties, transgender, athlete ban, a whole host of issues to talk about where these two candidates stand on it. That's coming up here on News 12. Stay with us. And welcome back to our News 12 election debate. These are the candidates vying for your vote for Nassau County Executive. County Executive Bruce Blakeman, the incumbent. You've been the target of intense criticism from some Nassau residents over a decision to work with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Nassau is providing ICE with 50 jail cells in East Meadow in exchange for reimbursement from the federal government. Nicole from Belmore sent us this question. Take a listen.
ICE has been targeting our neighborhoods and detaining law-abiding, tax-paying community members. A detainee even died while in custody at the Nassau County Jail. As county executive, what steps will you take to protect our neighbors from these harmful practices and ensure their safety?
County Executive Blakeman.
I support my decision to cooperate with ICE 100%. Just last month, ICE, in coordination with our police department, removed 47 criminals who were illegal migrants from the streets of Nassau County, 28 of whom were known gang members. These are people that are selling drugs to our kids and committing crimes and trying to recruit our kids into gangs. I have the overwhelming support of the Hispanic American community because they don't want these people in their neighborhoods. And by the way, Kathy Hochul is spending millions of dollars giving them free shelter, free food, free transportation, which you support, and a free lawyer, which of course you would support. So that's taxpayer dollars that could be spent on schools. It could be spent on infrastructure. And by the way, you called me Trump. I'd rather stand with Trump than you who stands with Mandami and Hochul.
Legislator Koslow, the question again from Nicole is, what steps will you take to protect our neighbors from these harmful practices?
I have been honored to represent the 5th Legislative District as a legislator in Nassau County, and in that district is Freeport. It's one of the most diverse districts in the county, and we have an extensive Hispanic population there, and I can tell you firsthand that despite what the county executive says, people are afraid of this 287G agreement. They're afraid of what ICE is doing, and I know Bruce likes to give half the story, and they may have arrested 47 criminals that were here without documentation, but how many people did they arrest that were either not criminals or were here with documentation, and they'll sort it out later? And they'll sort it out in a system where they're not entitled to legal representation because, according to Bruce, you shouldn't be able to represent people just because we accuse them of something. The problem is, by giving these resources to ICE, and are resources that we need in Nassau County, that they don't need because they have so much funding and support from the federal government, we are deriding and degrading the relationship we have with our community members and our police department. It's causing distrust, it's causing concern, and it's causing safety for people in our communities, and we have to stop it.
That is County
This
Executive.
is a guy who supports cashless bail. He wants to expunge criminal records, which is a very, very valuable tool for law enforcement. He's pro-criminal. And he doesn't want to remove these people from our communities because he won't get as much work as a criminal defense lawyer. Let's face it, getting 47 criminals out of Nassau County, 28 of whom are related to gangs and doing gang activities in Nassau County, if he doesn't think that's a good thing, then that's disturbing as well.
Legislator Koslow, quick rebuttal.
Rich, to be clear, I don't want violent criminals in my county, whether they're documented or not. And that's part of the reason I became a legislator, to make sure we enforce our laws and have our police department fully staffed. But unfortunately, under Bruce Blakeman, we have over 200 vacancies in our police department and 40 detectives short of where we should be. If he cared so much about our public safety, maybe he'd get rid of his militia that undermines our police department.
We have more police officers. We have more police officers now than we've had in 10 years.
We're going to talk more about that later on.
That's completely false.
Let's get
if I
to
can
the
just
next
finish my point
issue.
because he cut me off.
Yes.
Try to tell the truth.
Quickly.
The reality is this militia undermines our police department, and he's not investing in our police department. He's not investing in public safety.
Again, we're going to get to that issue later on in this debate, but let's move on now to an issue that's a real headache for Long Islanders right now, especially young people. Sky-high home prices. The median closed sale price for a single-family home in Nassau right now, $849,000, according to one key MLS. It's a 4% increase from last month. Kyle from Hicksville has this question for the candidates.
The cost of housing in Nassau County has skyrocketed over the last several years. What will you do to address this rise in the cost of housing for prospective homebuyers, as well as young prospective homebuyers like myself looking to invest their future in Nassau County?
Legislator Koslow.
Thanks, Rich. Look, part of the reason I got into this political world and got involved in government is because I've lived the Nassau County dream. My parents moved here from Brooklyn. They raised me, my brother, and my sister in Baldwin, put us through public schools. I followed their footsteps. I'm raising my kids in Merrick Public Schools, and I built a practice, and I'm living here. I want to retire here like they did. And it's becoming a pipe dream for my kids because there's no plan in place to make it more affordable. And one of the things we have to do, and what I'm going to do as county executive, is audit the county to find out where our money's going. We have buildings that that are not being used, that we're paying insurance on, we're paying property taxes on, we're paying maintenance fees on. We have county cars we're giving to people we don't need to be spending that kind of money on. Once we find out where our money's actually going, we can reinvest it in our communities, we can reinvest it in our agencies, and we can get rid of some of the properties we're not using and build more housing there. I also think we can put, among other things, not just housing, but we can do something at the hub, which we couldn't do under Bruce Blakeman, to bring some housing there. We have to work with our state and federal officials to bring in housing options, not across all of Nassau County, but in certain places where we can make it happen.
County Executive Blakeman, 1 minute.
You know, it's shocking that you are admitting that you don't know where the money's spent in Nassau County when you've served for the last 2 years as a legislator. And maybe that's the reason why you didn't show up for the budget hearing or the hearing on social services, or you didn't even vote on the budget this year, the most important vote a legislator would take. I'm proud of the fact that housing values are going up. If you become county executive, ladies and gentlemen, your prices and your values in your house will go down because there'll be an increase in crime, there'll be an increase in taxes. So if you bought your house 7 years ago for $600,000, it's now worth $850,000. We have created $250,000 in wealth and equity for your families. I don't think that's a negative. I think it's a positive. So Seth Koslow, if he's elected, more crime, higher taxes, and your home values will go down. You will lose equity, you will lose wealth, and you won't be able to leave anything to your children because there will be nothing left.
We'll touch again on this right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to our News 12 election debate for Nassau County Executive. We have reached the lightning round. We'll ask the candidates a series of rapid-fire questions with some quick answers. So let's begin. County Executive Blakeman, is the state right to force schools to do away with Native American mascots?
Absolutely not. It's ridiculous. Our governor should be spending time on educating our children.
All right.
She should be spending more money on giving it to our schools so they don't have to raise school taxes.
Okay, Legislator Koslow, we're going to go quick here.
I believe the community should decide. We have so many communities and municipalities here in Nassau County. Let the communities decide what's best.
Governor Hochul won't do that.
Let's move
she
on
won't
to the
allow
next
that.
one. Next topic. Can you name one time you reached across the political aisle to find common ground on a local issue, legislator?
I've tried multiple times with all the legislation I've proposed to try and save lives with the AEDs and other legislation I proposed to make it safer and more affordable in Nassau County, and the Republicans aren't allowed to because Bruce won't let them.
County Executive?
I've sat down with a number of legislators on the other side of the aisle. We've worked things out. Unfortunately, Celia Bino, who I think is a very responsible legislator, she left the county legislature and went to the state senate. I was able to work out a capital plan with her. I always reach across the aisle. The problem is that people like him want to call names
Next
like
issue,
clowns and things like that.
The question was, has it been done? All right. Are you in favor of even year local elections, which could go into effect as soon as next year in some races?
No, our local issues will get drowned out by national elections and statewide elections. Local issues are very important.
All right, next, Legislator Koslow.
Yes, people are overwhelmed by voting every single year. We need more people to be involved in this process. That's why people are shying away from voting, because it's too much too often.
All right, the next topic we could probably spend a half hour on, but we're going to narrow it down. Nassau University Medical Center. Who should be in control of the hospital, the state or the county? Legislator Koslow.
You know, if we had leadership in Nassau County, we would have saved the hospital, would have stayed under Nassau County control. It is a beacon. It is a safety net hospital for hundreds of thousands of people. But instead of fighting to save the hospital and doing the job of the county.
Okay, but again, state or county, just quickly.
The county.
Okay.
I thought we were done with the lightning round.
No, County Executive Blakeman.
You know that's a lie. Governor Hochul defunded NUMIC because she wants to close it.
Again,
that's been her game plan all along.
You think the county should stay in charge of the hospital?
I think the county was doing a great job. We took a $160 million deficit and reduced it by $100 million. The governor defunded Newmick because she didn't want that hospital to survive.
I understand.
She's been trying to close it for 4 years.
We could spend a half hour.
It was being run corruptly,
like
the Bruce Blakeman administration. That's
yeah,
part of the
name
problem.
one instance.
We will do that. We will do that show on Power and Politics.
Happy to talk
Name
about
one
it.
instance.
Let's
All you do is
continue
make
our
charges.
news debate for county executive right after this. This is the News 12 election debate for Nassau County Executive, coming to you from Optimum headquarters in Bethpage. Right now, the candidates are answering your questions. We're here with Republican Bruce Blakeman and Democrat Seth Koslow. Gentlemen, Nassau County has one of the largest Jewish populations in the country. We're also dealing with a large number of anti-Semitic incidents. 60 alone were reported in Nassau last year, according to the Anti-Defamation League. What can be done to address the rise in hate in the county and the country? Legislator Koslow, we begin with you.
I mean, it starts with taking a stand and meaning what you say. The young Republicans in New York State came out with unbelievable hate and anti-Semitism. And yet Bruce Blakeman sat there for 4 days, refused to condemn them, refused to talk about the fact that it's hateful speech against not just Jews, but everybody. And then when he did finally come out and say something, he said, I don't want them in my campaign. They're fine to be in his party. They're fine to work for him. But he's not willing to condemn the hate because it's not his headline. The fact of the matter is, I have been fighting against anti-Semitism since I became a candidate for Nassau County legislator. I will continue to do it because I'm raising my children as Jewish children in Nassau County. I was born and raised as a Jew in Nassau County, and we have to make sure the 300,000 people in Nassau County are protected because we have to ensure safety for everybody and not just do it when it's grandstanding and it's good for a headline. Bruce Blakeman could have said something when those young Republican text messages came out, and he didn't. And he only said something after we called a press conference condemning them for not saying anything. It's disgraceful. He should be embarrassed.
County Executive Blakeman, what can be done to combat anti-Semitism further?
Well, certainly don't elect Seth Koslow. Seth Koslow is the party of Zoran Mandami. He has yet to condemn him. He supports him. He supports the policies of Zoran Mandami. When those protesters came to Nassau County, the same ones that occupied Columbia University, and they spewed hate speech and they attacked Jewish students, I did what they didn't do in New York City. I told them, if you come to Nassau County from New York City, and they did, you will be met with a different result than you did in New York City. We had our police out in force. We told them, stay on the sidewalk and protest. If you step off the sidewalk, you're going to be arrested. We got tough. You did nothing. I went to Columbia University. And by the way, I'm Jewish too. You called me a Nazi stormtrooper, and I'm still waiting for an apology from you.
Well, County Executive, should you have condemned those comments from the young Republicans sooner?
I didn't know who these people were. I still don't know who they are. They've never been in my campaign. They're not from New York. And let me tell you this. I don't want him in my party. I don't want him in my campaign. I don't want anybody who talks like that. What are you going to say about Zoran Mandami? Are you going to condemn him? Are you going to ask people not to vote for you who are supporting Zoran Mandami?
He still hasn't condemned the statements. He's afraid to do it.
But there you go. A virulent anti-Semite. He can't even say the guy's a bad guy. He's a communist. He's a virulent anti-Semite.
Legislator Koslow,
and I don't want him in my party. Can't you say that?
Do you support Mamdani?
I do not support Mamdani. As soon as he won the primary, I stated that his policies are not my policies. They're not good for Nassau County, and I have nothing to do with that. At the end of the day, my focus is on Nassau County.
Ask the people in your party who support Mandami not to support you. Ask them right now.
If I can finish my statement, he keeps interrupting.
Yes.
I want to do what's best for Nassau County. He's running all over the place, to the Rose Garden for the tariff announcements, to Columbia to protest, maybe because he wants to run for governor. Is that what it is?
There are Jewish kids that go to Columbia University from Nassau County. You don't think they should be protected?
There are several topics important to Nassau County residents.
My job as county executive is to worry about the safety, the security, and the affordability of Nassau County.
Then why do you represent criminals?
Let's move on.
Why do you represent criminals? Why do you support cashless bail?
Last year, County Executive Blakeman introduced a controversial program authorized by an executive order to deputize pre-screened citizens with gun licenses in cases of emergency. Many Democrats in Nassau don't like it. Some call it a militia. Jake from Long Beach wants to know, quote, why does Mr. Blakeman think we need a citizen militia and to hire more police officers, despite Nassau County being one of the safest counties in America? County Executive Blakeman.
Well, Jake, you're from Long Beach, so I'm going to use you as an example. I was around during Superstorm Sandy. We did not have enough resources to deal with that catastrophe. So under the law, state law, not county law, every chief executive or sheriff has the ability to declare an emergency and deputize people. Now, I didn't want to wait till there was an emergency and then scramble to vet people or to train people. What I did simply was create a list of people who were willing to serve. And who are these people? They're retired law enforcement, they're retired American military. And Seth Koslow called these people who were willing to step up and protect our communities in an emergency. He called them brown shirts, Nazi stormtroopers. He stood there with people with signs that said that. Shame on you, Seth Koslow. That's not only anti-Semitic, it trivialized the Holocaust, and it's a slur on the people, good people, military veterans, and police officers who are willing to step up and protect our communities.
Legislator Koslow.
First off, viewers at home, look that up. It's a blatant lie. I never said that. Second,
you stood with them.
Second of all,
they were wearing signs.
Second of all,
go ahead, Legislator Koslow.
He talks about how, as a legislator, I don't know where the money is. Maybe that's because you refuse to be transparent and tell us where the money's going.
Show up for budget hearings.
We have asked time and time again for what this militia is costing, who's paying for it, what they're being paid.
They're
did not
being
respond.
Paid, Seth. Pay attention.
County Executive, let him have his time, please.
You did not respond. So either they're working for free and being trained for nothing, or you're paying them.
That's correct.
So either way, you're breaking the law. That being said, you want to talk about safety. If he's so worried about another Superstorm Sandy, why is he cutting the budget and staffing for our Office of Emergency Management? Why is he refusing to staff our police department so they can actually keep us safe? Why is he not working with our state and federal officials to get resources when we need them? We don't need some people with limited training, even if they were prior law enforcement. When did they stop in law enforcement? 30 years ago? What type of training do they have? Who's responsible if they're brought up and activated and they shoot somebody?
That's a good
question. We are taxpayers.
That's a good question, Seth, and I'm going to answer it.
You can address it, but also let's get to this next question.
Can I answer that question? First of all, we're shifting resources. What I'm doing is funding our volunteer firefighters. Perhaps you don't want them to volunteer either. We're increasing funding to our volunteer firefighters so that they have the equipment, the technology, and the training to do their job. And thank you very much to all our firefighters for volunteering and stepping up to the plate.
All right,
apparently he's going to call them militia
15 seconds, we have to move on.
I just want to make sure these are the same volunteer firefighters that some work in Democratic-led districts that you refuse to approve CRP grants for, so they're not getting the funding because they're represented by me or Delia DeRidge-Witten or another Democratic legislator.
It's the highest funding in the history.
You talk about
it's the highest funding of the volunteer firefighters in the history of Nassau County.
To the next
Do your
issue
homework.
now.
Show up to budget hearings.
Let's talk about Nassau County's ban on transgender athletes from competing in women's sports at county-owned and operated facilities. The legal wrangling continues on this. The New York Civil Liberties Union has sued to stop it. A state appeals court has temporarily halted the ban as the case plays out. Legislator Koslow, we'll start with you on this. You voted against that ban when the legislature approved it last year. If elected, would you repeal it?
So, Rich, here's the thing. I've made my adult career as a father. I've spent all of my free time as a coach. I've been coaching a baseball team for years. And as a coach, if my 11-year-old baseball team is playing against a team and the other team brings down a 13-year-old boy, it's not fair. The kid's bigger, stronger, and faster. That's the same argument they have here for transgender athletes. In that situation, I don't go to the county, I don't go to the police, I go to the league and I say, this is not fair, fix it. Bruce Blakeman is trying to marginalize a group of people when there's no examples of any issues in Nassau County, and he's doing nothing but making a headline out of it. This transgender ban does nothing to make us safer here in Nassau County or more affordable. In fact, it doesn't stop transgender athletes from doing anything because we have so many other places they can play. And the funny thing is, he uses it to espouse all of his hateful ideas because, there was a budget hearing, a legislative hearing on Monday where there are over 100 people in red that showed up to talk about girls' sports.
Okay.
But let me just finish this real quick, Rich. They actually spoke, all they did was talk about Bruce Blakeman and the attack ads on me about this rape article. And did you know, Bruce, there's an
I'm glad you
email.
brought that up
Wait,
again,
there's an email from the county attorney's office.
First of all,
directing
let the county executive
people come
I would like to have
from your office.
I'd like to have my response. First of all, basically what he said was nothing. He would repeal it. He said he would. He didn't vote for it.
I can't repeal it.
So let me tell you what happened. What happened is I was visited by a group of girls, young girls, in a soccer league. They were coming in to take a picture in my office. They had won a championship. And they said, Mr. Blakeman, we'd like to talk to you about something that's very important to us. And I said, what is that? And they told me that they were afraid that biological males would steal their positions on teams, that they would unfairly compete, and that it would be unsafe for them. And they asked me to do something about it. And you know what? I agreed with those girls, and that's why we said in Nassau County, boys play with boys and girls play with girls. And it wasn't transphobic because the most famous transgender person in the world, who was a biological male, outstanding athlete, Caitlyn Jenner, came to Nassau County and said, Bruce Blakeman is right.
We will leave it there.
I just hope I don't get in trouble for playing co-ed sports.
We're going to move on here. Still to come on this News 12 Vote 2025 debate. We're going to share more of your questions with the candidates about a whole host of issues here on Long Island and in Nassau County. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our News 12 election debate. These are the candidates vying for your vote for Nassau County Executive. Bruce Blakeman, this year you submitted a $4.4 billion budget to the county legislature that holds the line on taxes for a fourth straight year. But your administration has also frozen tax assessments throughout your term in office, and that has had an impact on who pays the most in taxes and by how much. Susan from Oceanside writes, the assessment rolls have only gotten more inaccurate since he keeps freezing assessments. What specific plans does each candidate have to fix the assessment system? County Executive Blakeman.
Well, I'm very proud of the work that we've done with respect to the county's assessment system. First of all, we are paying out hundreds of millions of dollars less in tax certiorari claims because we fixed those problems. I've hired 6 quality control people to make sure that the assessment rolls are accurate. But I'll tell you, there's one thing that I'll never do that my predecessor did, which my opponent supports. That's a reassessment, where people who own mansions worth $4 million and don't have to pay 1 penny in real property taxes. It's wrong, it's unfair, and I fixed it. And by the way, our state controller, Tom DiNapoli, a Democrat, he looked at our finances and he said, under his fiscal stress test, that our finances were excellent. Wall Street rating agencies looked at our finances. We've got an unprecedented 7 bond upgrades over the last 3 years. That's a record of achievement I'm proud of, and I can tell you, if we elect Seth Koslow, you will be very, very disappointed in your tax structure.
Koslow, how would you address the assessment issue?
So, Bruce Blakeman talks about that he fixed the assessment system, and if you believe that, vote for him. But let's be honest, we're all still grieving our assessments every single year because the system is broken, and it's only gotten worse under Bruce Blakeman because he continues to freeze the rolls. Go into Garden City and then go into Mineola and go into Williston Park. See how all the houses look exactly the same, but the rates and the taxes are completely different. The system is broken. He says he fixed it. If you believe that, I can sell you a bridge also. But let's talk about why he believes we're in such a good financial place. Because under Laura Curran, he inherited an extensive surplus of money. And yet, if you look at the way he's balancing his budget over the last 3.5 years, he keeps dipping into our reserves and still only then barely has $1 million or $2 million surplus on a $4.2 billion budget. It's nothing. It's poor fiscal management. That's why it keeps getting kicked back by NYFA. He has no idea and no plan how to make us more affordable. He just has a way to make his friends and himself more money and be corrupt to make sure he gets richer while we all struggle on a day-to-day basis.
The Democrat state controller did a fiscal stress test and found our finances to be excellent. He thinks he's smarter than our state controller. He is not. Ladies and gentlemen, we are managing our budgetary affairs in a way that would make you proud. We're running this county like a business. He would run it like his law firm, going out, getting criminals out of jail. Your property values would go down. And then, yes, maybe your assessment would go down because he would destroy the value of your homes.
All right, traffic is...
Rich, I'm sorry, I have just one, because we talked about this before.
Yes.
You know, the question was asked, I think it was by Alex, how are you going to make it more affordable here? And Bruce talks from his perch in his multi-million-dollar house he lives in Atlantic Beach about how home prices went up and it became better for everybody. But you know what? the 23-year-old coming out of college can't afford an $850,000 house. The question
Kathy
is,
Hochul,
can I please
Kathy
finish one
Hochul
answer?
wants to put low-income housing
we're gonna move on.
and high-rises
Moving on.
here in
I
Nassau
have
County.
to
He
finish
supports her.
Very quickly.
He knows he's wrong.
supports that.
He knows he's wrong. We're
Well,
trying
she
to make
tried
it more
to do it,
affordable
Seth. You know
for
she tried to
younger
do
people.
Let the legislator
And you
finish his
supported
thought,
it.
please.
We want to make it more affordable for younger people here. He has no plan because he's getting richer. All of his buddies are. That's corruption. That's what he's doing because he makes money
You're getting
with a
richer
broken
too,
assessment
Seth.
system.
Let's move on to
Everybody's
the next issue
doing
here.
better
We got a
under
lot of
my
questions.
administration.
We have a lot of questions from viewers about infrastructure. We have seen crumbling roads. We have seen sinkholes. We have seen issues with pipes, aging infrastructure. Legislator Koslow, how would you deal with that?
We have to invest in our community. Bruce Blakeman will hold over our heads that we're not supporting first responders because we won't support his capital plan. Yet there is over $1 billion, $1 billion in capital spending, or capital borrowing that's already approved from other administrations that is ready to be used to invest in our infrastructure, our sewer water, our clean water, our beach erosion issues, and he refuses to use that money because it doesn't get him a headline. He has to invest in our communities. There has been nothing done for storm hardening to make sure we're safer in the event of a hurricane or a major storm. And look, I grew up here. I am born and raised in Baldwin. I live in Merrick now, so I've spent my life surrounding Freeport. And when I was a kid, if it rained, so be it. Now, the smallest rainstorm floods Freeport, floods my backyard in Merrick, because we're not preparing for the future. He thinks climate change is a joke. It's not real. Look at how hot it is in October. We're going trick-or-treating next week in t-shirts. Something's changed, and he doesn't want to admit that and plan for that. And that's a lack of leadership and plan for the future.
County Executive Blakeman, how about our aging infrastructure? How do you address it?
Well, first of all, I have addressed it. We have repaired and repaved 584 miles of roads since I became county executive. We have a repair program now for our sewer system, which is one of the oldest sewer systems in America. I am replacing our piping in our sewer system. I've invested in our sewer treatment plants. But here's the sad thing. He supports Kathy Hochul, who spent $4 billion of your tax money on illegal migrants, giving them free everything when we could have gotten it for our schools and our infrastructure. It's a disgrace. Let me tell you something. We send $7 billion more of our tax dollars to New York State than we get back. Not $7 billion, $7 billion more. He supports Governor Hochul, who spends money on illegal migrants. I want to spend that money on our schools and our infrastructure and our hospitals. And the way to do that is to change the leadership in Albany, who he supports, who has been shortchanging Long Island for years.
Rich, just one brief comment.
We have to hit this break here, Legislator. We'll let you be able to do this after the break, because when we return, the candidates will deliver their final campaign promises to you, the voter. Stay with us. Welcome back. It is time now for the candidates' closing statements. They'll each have 1 minute, and Bruce Blakeman will go first.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you, News 12, and thank you for everybody out there that's watching this debate. I think it's been very instructive. You know, Nassau County is larger than 10 states in population. We have every race, every religion, every ethnic group, people of all lifestyles, all abilities, and we live in this community because we love the fact that we have a safe community, that we have an affordable community, that people want to live here. That's why Niche Magazine said we're the most desirable place to live in all of New York State. That's why U.S. News and World Report said we're the safest county to live in America. The contrasts are very stark. Do we want to continue to keep taxes down? Do we want to have law enforcement supported and not defunded, like my opponent suggests? I think that you want another term with me as your county executive. I would love to be your county executive for another term. I would be honored. And let's continue what we're doing, protecting our families, protecting our communities, and having a future for our kids, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren to come. Thank you very much. I ask for your support and your vote on Election Day. Thank you.
Legislator Koslow.
Rich, thank you. Thanks for the listeners at home for paying attention. Look, for the last hour, I've tried to explain to you what my plan is, and every time I said something that Bruce disagreed with, he made up a lie and cut me off. The reality is, We still don't know where all of our money is going because he won't tell us. He hides it or he puts it in his own pocket. This is corruption like we've never seen before. His buddies get richer. He gets richer. He has a $40,000 pay increase. And quite frankly, we haven't seen corruption like this since Mangano, and we know what happened to him. But let's be honest. He talks about how he won't work with Governor Hochul. As an elected official, we don't get to choose who we work with. We have to work with the leaders. I am prepared to work with whoever is in office to do what's best for this county. I don't want to work against them just because I don't agree with their politics. That's not leadership. I'm going to fight for every dollar, every resource, every opportunity we can get for Nassau County, because that's what you deserve and that's what we deserve in Nassau County. And that's why I need you to vote for me, Seth Koslow, on November 4th, to make sure we have a plan for Nassau County in the future. Thank you.
Well, thank you both for being here. Certainly a very spirited debate. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Rich.
And thank you all for watching and tuning in to our Vote 2025 election debate, whether you're watching on News 12 or on our app or on News 12 New York. And don't forget to tune in on election night. We'll be tracking those key races and local results for you throughout the night. Our special coverage begins at 9 p.m. I'm Rich Barabi. Remember, local elections lead to national change.